Hello, this is Jim Davis singing another hymn for you today, teaching you another new hymn. Or maybe you've heard of this hymn, maybe you haven't. There's a lot of hymns that are being overlooked today, sadly enough, because, well, basically hymns are not the in thing nowadays. So, but I'm trying to, you know, let you know of these hymns because they're treasures and they come from a good history of people. And one of the people I wanted to share with you today is Philip Paul Bliss. The hymn I'm singing for you today is "The Light of the World is Jesus." And I'm going to read a few things to you to give you some context to this hymn to really understand where they're coming from. And I want you to understand that these hymns come from a history. That's why they're so precious. Because not only do they share the Word of God, they explain the life people had to go through. They explain sacrifice. They talk about sacrifice. They talk about happiness of joy, of course, but they also talk about struggles. They also talk about overcoming situations in life. So, I'm going to read you a few things. I'm going to read you this whole thing. This comes from this book right here, Then Sings My Soul, by Robert J. Morgan. I got this for Christmas one year from my dad. And yeah, I'm going to read this little excerpt of "Light of the World is Jesus" for you, and to let you hear the story behind it. First of all, it has a verse that is inspired by, how fitting, because we talk a lot about this, specifically about being patriotic and how everything's in the, how we describe America. A lot of people describe America, but this is it right here. "You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden." This is from Matthew 5:14. And let me go ahead and read this for you. On the last Thursday of 1876, Philip Bliss prayed with his boys, Paul, 2 years of age, and George, 4 years of age. They explained that he and Lucy were leaving by train for Chicago to sing at D.L. Moody's Tabernacle at the year's end. And this is a quote: I would far rather stay than go if it were God's will," he told the kids, "but I must be about my master's work." The boys were left in the care of relatives. Another passenger on the Chicago-bound train, Mr. J.E. Burchell, later told the story. There were 11 cars on the train that left Buffalo at 2 o'clock Friday afternoon in a blinding snowstorm. So there was a snowstorm going while this train was being set off. "We neared the bridge over the Ashtabula River in Ohio at about 7:45, assuming probably p.m. that night. We ran on the structure at a rate of about 10 miles an hour, and the whole train was on a bridge when it gave away. The bridge is about 200 feet long, and only the first engine has passed over when the crash came. The first thing I heard was a cracking in the front part of the car, and then the same cracking in the rear. Then a sickening oscillation and a sudden sinking, and I was thrown stunned from my seat. The ironwork bent and twisted like snakes, and everything took horrid shapes. I heard a lady scream in anguish, and then I heard a cry of fire. The crackling of the flames, the whistling wind, the screaming of the hurt made a pandemonium of that little valley. They made a pandemonium of that little valley they were in. And the water of the freezing creek was red with blood and black with flying cinders. The fire stole swiftly along the wreck, and in a few moments the cars were all in flames. The sight was sickening. The whole wreck was then on fire, and from out of the frozen valley came great bursts of flame. This is a quote from Burchell. According to Mr. Burchell, Philip Paul Bliss Philip initially survived the wreck, but crawled back through a window to save his wife. Both perished together. Among Philip's last hymns was "The Light of the World is Jesus." This is one before he wrote, before he died. With its fitting final lines, "No need for the sunlight in heaven, we're told. The light of the world is Jesus. The Lamb is the light in the city of gold. The light of the world is Jesus." Now, there are plenty, according to this hymn, there are 4 verses. And I'm going on this website here. And this is the hymnal.net. And I'm just going to go by the verses on here because, first of all, I can read off this computer screen. It's bigger. This book right here has very small. And I have a hard time reading it. So I'm going to read this right here. It has a single line to read, so it's easier for me to do. So let's go ahead and do it. I have to start right up because there's no intro. Okay. The whole world was lost in the darkness of sin. The light of the world is Jesus. Like sunshine at noonday, his glory shone in. The light of the world is Jesus. Come to the light, 'tis shining for thee. Sweetly the light has dawned upon me. Once I was blind, but now I can see. The light of the world is Jesus. No darkness have we who in Jesus abide. The light of the world is Jesus. We walk in the light when we follow our guide. The light of the world is Jesus. Come to the light, 'tis shining for thee. Sweetly the light has dawned upon me. Once I was blind, but now I can see. The light of the world is Jesus. Ye dwellers in darkness with sin-blinded eyes, the light of the world is Jesus. Go wash at his bidding, and light will arise. The light of the world is Jesus. Come to the light, 'tis shining for thee. Daily the light has dawned upon me. Once I was blind, but now I can see. The light of the world is Jesus. Excuse me.